The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are now live with BB3 TV.
Hello, Tommy. I get my promise, I'm here. I get my promise, I'm here.
I hope you understand.
I'm trying to help you while you're here. Trying to help. If you'd like to say anything. The room is yours. The room is yours.
You are now watching Turn to Gold on BB3 TV with your host, the Ghost Boy, Chris Cesare.
Hello, I'm Tom Brokaw, and welcome to the NBC Evening News. Wait, this is the wrong thing. I'm sorry. It's an 80s flashback that happens to me sometimes. I think it's because of my new old hairstyle, this mullet type of thing, and the thing on the wrist. I'm trying to recreate an 80s feel, even though that was decades ago, because an event that I'm going to in a couple weeks will be having an 80s party. And so I'm doing my part to get ready for that. Fun. And that event is called the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash, and it's an incredible event that takes place, yes, of course, in Gettysburg. You like my countdown? Thank you. I really appreciate it. And no pings for copyright. Bing. Was that a ping? Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Hello, Penny. Thank you so much. Tom, yes, you know, the 80s, it's true. I'm Tom Broken Draw. That's very good. Yes, thank you for that. And hello out from Vincent, California. It's nice to see you here tonight. So this is very nice. Ping. Yeah, see. Oh, you like my humor, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Tom says, and I agree with him. This is factual, by the way, for you listening out there and watching, viewing from home. The 80s were not decades ago. They were just yesterday, and I'm into that. On Turn to Gold here on BB3 TV, we talk about the concept of being positive, of being a positive change in the world, of turning water to wine, lead to gold, creating lemonade from lemons. And I've been spotlighting for the past 26 shows now, people who made a positive difference in their communities, in their fields, and with their families. And no difference tonight. You know, it's one of the blessings that I have, and going across the country and talking about my experience from my college days, is that I meet people who, in their own ways, are trying to give back to others. It's interesting, too, to note that people sometimes think that they're all around the world, is only me and no one is out there. That's true if you isolate. But if you don't isolate, then you realize there are people out there willing to share an idea, share a drink, share a smile, share an activity that brings us all together. I remember way back when the towers fell, 9/11, and a number of my friends decided they were going to go sign up for the military and defend democracy and freedom, and join the efforts over in Afghanistan. And noble, brave, real altruism there, very patriotic. Unfortunately, you know, the real world isn't like comic books or movies. And when they got there, they're amazed by some of the confusion, the lack of communication, the terror. And they put their lives on the line with very little protection sometimes. The things they saw, the things they had to endure, what they did to preserve freedoms and protect democracy are things that most of us won't understand. But, you know, they went through. And many of them came back suffering a bit from what they call PTSD, trauma that in the quiet moments sneak into their minds. And PTSD is something that can take a quiet toll on a person over time. And PTSD can occur from all kinds of different traumas, from a car accident talking about active combat, domestic violence. All different things can create this in a person. And one of the best ways to counteract the PTSD is to surround yourself with people who bring light, who bring positivity, help a person over time retrain their brain, not to panic or fear, but to trust and to hope. And those are beautiful things. You know, my guests this evening are incredible people. They're not just positive, they're not just productive, they're also nice people. If you walk into them in the street, they'll say hello to you. They'll give you sort of their back, except for the wintertime, it's too cold to do that, but they'll give it to you now probably. They're just really kind, and it's nice to know people like this exist. They fundraise on a regular basis. They preserve history. They bring people together. I love them, and so we're going to bring them both on tonight. They are a dynamic duo. Remember that back in the 60s? Batman and Robin, they're pretty cool. Although Catwoman is pretty cool too. I thought she was pretty neat. Eartha Kitt. I digress. So let me now bring on, if I can, ladies and gentlemen, Pamela and Stephen Barry. Hello.
I want to be Catwoman.
You Catwoman.
I like Eartha Kitt. Oh.
Note to self, she's Catwoman. All right, got it. Oh, so I recorded that. Yes, and that's right. Yeah, Adam West and Burt Ward. It's funny how a show like that, which is campy, kind of like a joke, almost like Star Trek too, was so influential to our lives growing up as kids. There are fewer channels. We all watch the same thing more often. That's how it was back then. And we had things like In Search Of. And that's incredible for people who like things esoteric in nature, right? Was there a Loch Ness Monster? Was there Bigfoot? Was there magic? And I'm wondering, to start things off, if I guess we'll go first, in this case, and Steve. At what point in your life did you realize there's something else out there?
Let's see, you first.
Me? I'm first.
Yeah.
Throw me under the bus. I would say at a very young age, I had two very early things. The one was at my grandmother's house. There was a lady in bedclothes at the bottom of the bed. And I see her to this day. And when I see that woman in the bedclothes, I know that something pivotal is going to happen, whether it's good or bad. So she's kind of my messenger. And another time was when I was very small. We were on the Constellation in Baltimore City Harbor. I'm from Baltimore originally. And I saw a man, and he told me that I could get into his bunk. And I was like, oh, okay. So I got into the bunk, and it was with my sister's school class trip. And I got yelled at by the nuns, get out of there. So I did. And again, the man appeared and he said, you can get in my bunk. And I did it again. And then I got in real big trouble. But so I've been having experiences since I was a small child.
And so the first person that you saw, the woman, when you first saw that image, were you confused? Were you frightened? Were you worried?
I was frightened. I was absolutely frightened. And then, so I see her periodically. And then in Lilydale one year, I got a past life done. And lo and behold, I'm on this big thing of rocks, and I'm a little girl, maybe about 12 years old, log pigtails, because they tell you to, look at your reflection. And I had bedclothes on. And, when I always said as a kid, oh, I was Cleopatra or I was on the Titanic. No. In that moment, I knew that my family had all been killed in an avalanche. And again, I'm in this kind of like a big brick hospital, and I'm helping other kids eat. And then I know that I'm going to die. Wow. But bedclothes, and I do, and I collect bedclothes too now. But have a past life is amazing. You get taught a lot about yourself.
Well, see, that's compelling. Did your parents or guardians bring you up in a way that you would believe in spirits, or is it something that you just kind of on your own went forward with?
Well, my grandmother would say on weekends, are we going to play Ouija board, or are we going to have a seance?
There you go. Okay, yes.
So I thought everyone communicated with spirit in some way, shape, or form. And then I went to Catholic school, so I was like really confused.
Right, because on one hand, your home life is like, let's experiment and let's find these things at the churches in the schools. Like, no, you don't do that. That could be a very bad thing for you. So it's like a bipolar spiritual existence.
Yes.
That's very interesting how to balance that. And Steve, I don't know if maybe you were a young child too and you saw things the first time, or maybe you weren't.
It was back when I was crossing the Delaware with Washington.
Yeah, cold night.
And Walter Cronkite was standing on the banks waiting. No, actually, no. My first experience was, hi, John and Tom, by the way. I see him over here on the side. Say hi. Was with my mother. She used to do grave rubbings for the Audubon Society. They had a contest. Who can find the oldest gravestone? So we were in a graveyard way back in this woods over in West Milford, New Jersey. And she was doing a grave rubbing. I heard a voice say, "Get out." We both looked at each other. She goes, "Well, that's not funny." I said, "I didn't say nothing." And then I said again, "Get out." And we got out.
I was going to say, did you leave?
We left. The second time I saw an apparition was with Flip. And that was in Moundsville. We were up in the infirmary, and there's two cells, one to the left, one to the right. And I was at the right cell, and he was on the left cell. And if everyone knows Flip, he was a correctional officer. So we had our cameras on us, and I said, Flip, I said, he goes, "Are you ready?" I said, "Yeah, just do your job. Do what you do as a correctional officer." Right. So just as he went to talk, I looked at my cell, and there was a face staring at me, and it just went and just dissipated. It was gone. And I stood there, and Flip says, "What did you just see?" Right. I said, "How do you know I saw something?" He goes, "Because you're pitch white right now."
It was a reaction to it.
Yeah, it was a reaction to it, yeah.
That's fascinating. So even though he might not have seen what you saw, he saw a reaction to it that let him know something was happening. And that happens quite a few times. Back in my haunting at Gettysburg, when we were back there, I would see this thing in the wall hovering, moving around, and Jeff wouldn't see it too often, but he'd see me react and say, "What are you seeing?" Same thing. And you give me the camera, take pictures so I could get images of what I was seeing. So it seems that some people are either more prone to seeing things or allow themselves to more than others. And I'm curious, we'll do Steve first this time, then Pam. Do you think that everyone has a latent ability that can be developed? Or do you think that some people just have a gift others maybe don't have?
I think everyone has a gift.
I think they just don't open themselves up to it.
Exactly. You when the time in your journey, when it opens, that's when it's supposed to. So a child could have experiences, or later in life. We all open our packages, our gifts when we're ready.
Yeah, I think
I used to do that to Pam. I repeat, or actually finish a sentence before she said it. And she goes, "Quit doing that to me. Quit doing that to me." And I'd say, "I can't stop it." She goes, so every time so every time it would happen to me, she said, "Just say it out loud, and then people will believe it," because I thought people would think I was a freak or something. So
there's always that risk you run, right? Because it's the paranormal. People might not want to go into that and think that's a serious thing. Better to judge you than to make themselves feel uncomfortable. That happens sometimes. And talking about exposure, allowing yourself to see new ideas and new experiences. In education, we do that. We teach the kids new skill sets, new problem-solving techniques, bringing them to new places that I've been to before, maybe historical site, things like that, bringing guest speakers. This way, their experiences, are broadened. And I think it's a good thing. In fact, I remember when I was in 8th grade and 9th grade, some of my friends started saying things like, "Oh, look at that girl over there. She's hot." I'm like, "Yeah, stop that. Where's your action figure? Come on, where's Iron Man, right?" And then I was in Miss Cuomo's class in Spanish 1. It was in May of that year. I think I was 14 and a half. And all of a sudden, it felt like a wash came over me, like the sunlight. I looked up and I said, "Wow, girls are pretty." Just like it dawned on me. I had no clue that could be a cool thing. So I think that sometimes, that could happen with the way we're working that way. So it's interesting you bring that up. So you both believe that most people, if they have the ability, the right mindset and conditions, can probably do something, hear or feel something.
Yes, open yourself up to it.
Yes. And
you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable, and you have to stay teachable, because once you don't do either,
Well, I think it is, Chris. I think they're afraid something's going to jump into them and take them over, and that's not how it works, really.
Well, a lot of times we see that in the movies, in the horror movies, or we see that in some television shows where almost every event, and I'm not criticizing everything out there, but almost every event tends to be dangerous or demonic because people like the thrill, and the ratings go through the roof. Rather than in my show, there's a knock on the wall, we cut the commercial. Now it seems as though there has to be some kind of traumatic thing where your lives are imperiled, or thing might possess your body, so that people can like keep watching the show and the sponsors get there. But you and I, we all know that life doesn't work that way, and we're not constantly running to demons every Thursday, correct?
Correct.
So where do you stand on that? Because you've both been in the field for a long time, and I can list all these things down here. I can list the let's see what we have here. We have historic haunts of Waynesboro. We have the 1912 right now Hoover House. We have Lilydale. Pam goes there. We have the Airbrush USA. We have Gettysburg Ghost Exchange. All these things. You've been working with people from different states and different capacities, with like mediums, with ITC guys, on YouTube shows, television, all these things you've experienced. You bring us all together for the bash almost every single year. So what does that mean? Do you feel as though that we're making any progress in this area, or is this just something that, just have some fun?
No, actually, the bash was born in 2015, and we put that together right after I passed. And when I came back from my heart attack, I thought I was brought back to make a change. So Pam, Anthony, and we all got together and said, what can we do? And Pam's son's in the Air Force. So at that time in 2015, the veterans were being really abused. Like, no one was sticking up for them back then. Knees were being taken and all that stuff. And I wasn't going to stand for it, put it that way. So my father fought in the Korean War, and we love America. And we decided to stand up.
And then we
something.
met Helen Sager.
Yeah.
Helen is 87. She would kick my butt if she knew that I said that.
Was that 39? She's 39? She's 39 years
39.
old? That's what I thought.
And when I met her, her office is in her living room, and no one gets paid. And 98 cents out of every dollar goes directly to a soldier's home.
Probably 96 cents now.
Yeah, inflation. But it goes to their home, their health care, whatever that veteran needs. Helen makes sure that they get it. And then we met John Buckland, who does Heroes for Hire. And how can you not absolutely respect and love John? And we just thought, you know what? Both of these they both need to be empowered. And when we had McKenna going through and doing her victory lap, and she just stopped and was like, oh, I can't go anymore. And Batman was going to scoop her up, and she said, no, Batman, you can hold my hand, but I'm going to do it.
I'm doing this.
I knew that that we were empowering both charities that really, really need it. Last year, Helen's donations were down by 40%. So when she got our check, she actually called me up and was crying on the phone. So just know that
your funds go. You are helping major soldiers out there that really need help.
And it's our honor. If it wasn't for the paranormal field and all of my friends and colleagues that support these causes and support Steve and I, this would never happen. So I'm humbled when I see all these people at the bash behind their tables, and knowing that they're giving their time free. And time is a precious gift. When you give your time, you can never get that back. So when I see people, I'm just. And
Chris, the first bash was for Wounded Warrior Project.
Yeah, I recall that.
And then when we went out to
well, it was that, and we had two charities that year: Wounded Warrior Project and PA Wounded Warriors. We had those two charities.
And then when everyone told us pretty much Wounded Warrior Project gets paid to have paid staff and all, and then we talked to Helen. A lot of people in PA wanted us to go with just PA Wounded Warriors because it's 96 cents of a dollar goes
more localized and less administration.
Yeah, there's no overhead really. I mean, she has no building; she does it from her home. So we went that route, for them.
And here's Helen's logo. I made that's
nice. Wow. Now that's George Washington, correct?
It is.
Yes.
But that's their
he was so good in
logo.
high school. He was a little mouthy, but he had to get over that stage.
Chris does a great George Washington.
Well, you know, with Ira president, I'm going to campaign in all 13 states myself, so that's what I'm going to be doing. So, you know, you mentioned, Steve, about your passing, and one of the most fascinating things I've ever heard in my entire life was about your experience. And I spoke to you about this a number of years ago, not long after you had this momentous occurrence. Momentous meaning it changes things for you. Do you mind sharing a little bit about what had happened? Because really, some would say you shouldn't be here, and yet you still are.
I shouldn't be here. We were filming Paranormal After Party the night before it happened. Forgive me, I don't know the name of the ship we were in Philadelphia back then. But I was way down in the bottom of the ship in the coal section. We had to go through this little tiny alleyway thing, I call it. I was the only one that could fit through there, me and little Chris. And we were filming back there. And I came back upstairs, and Joe Chin's sister said to me, "Are you feeling okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm feeling fine. Why?" She goes, "You don't look good." And I said, "Oh, sorry." You know, I just came at it at the bottom of a ship. So I went to the hotel that night, and then I got into the car and drove back with Ava and one of the other guys on the show. And I slept all the way from Philadelphia to the Poconos. And I never do that. When I'm in a car, I just don't sleep because I don't trust anyone driving besides me.
So maybe exhaustion, maybe. Who knows, right?
Yeah, so I thought I was exhausted, but I wasn't. I was clogged. It was the next day, March 31st, which was just 2015. Everyone thought it was April Fool's. And actually, the veins in my leg were popping out. And I asked Greg O'Brien on the phone, I said, "Greg, look at my legs." I said, "Is this normal?" Because we have the same back issues and all.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hell no, that ain't normal." He goes, "You better get checked out." But the funny thing was, Pam was living down here in Gettysburg. I was living up in the Poconos. And I was on a FaceTime call with her. And I said, "Look, when I run through the house, the veins go away in my legs. Like they were really popping out like varicose veins." And I ran through the house, jumping over furniture and all this stuff. I said, "Now look," and the veins are gone. She goes, "You might want to talk to your doctor about that." Then my daughter says, "Dad," she was living with me. She goes, "You got to get off the phone. We're going to eat dinner." I said, "All right, Pam, I'll call you back in a few minutes."
Right.
I sat down and someone told me, I went into my room, "Go check your blood pressure," because I wasn't feeling too good. So I went and checked my blood pressure. It was 125/72, which is normal.
Right.
But something told me on my dresser, I saw baby aspirin. It said, "Take 2 baby aspirin right now." I'm like, all right. So I took, they were the full.
Better safe than sorry kind of thing?
Yeah. So I took them and I went to eat and I couldn't eat. And I just felt like I was going to throw up every time I went to eat. So my daughter looked at me. She goes, "Why don't you eat?" And I said, I don't feel like eating right now. I feel sick." She goes, "Oh, it's my cooking." So I laughed at it. And then she walked away and went in her bedroom with her boyfriend at the time. Right. And they were going to go watch a movie. And all of a sudden, I just didn't feel really good at all. I said, "I think I'm having a heart attack." So I went to her room, banged on her door. She opened it. I said, "I think I'm having a heart attack." She goes, "Dad, you're turning gray." She goes, "You're like getting blue." Right. And I'm like, "What?" So now I'm panicking.
Well, no circulation, right?
Pam answered the phone. You were in Walmart.
I was walking to Walmart.
She was in Walmart when we called her, and she said, "Call 911 now." Now, when we called, it was a blizzard outside. There was 7 inches of snow already on the roads, and they hadn't even plowed. So my daughter called, and we were down this valley, so it was really hard to get a signal as it was on your cell phone. So imagine it's coming down so heavy, the snow. She calls, and the phone. She goes, "My dad's," the 911 goes, 911. She goes, "Yeah, my dad's having a heart attack." They go, "Where are you located at?" And she went to tell him, and the phones went dead. So she's panicking now, and she's looking at me. And she goes, "Dad, you're turning blue." With that, I got this burning, like it felt like someone took a blowtorch to my chest. It was, really? I mean, people say, "What's it feel like to have a heart attack?" I tell you, you're going to know if you have a heart attack. It's not this little
It's
cramp.
not a back cramp. It's worse than
that
that.
you get here and there. You'll know when it's a heart attack.
It's more like
And,
heartburn. It's more like heartburn than a back pain. It burns.
It burned like a blowtorch was on my chest, like someone put a blowtorch, and it went for about, I don't know, 30 seconds, and then it went away, and then I felt great. I just felt normal.
Right.
And my daughter goes, "Your color's coming back," and I was like,
"Well, that's good."
So my body going through a lot. I said, "I have to use the bathroom," but something told me, "Don't get up and use the bathroom. Don't get up." So meanwhile, she's trying to call, and she's not getting through at all. Phone's not doing nothing. So my son, who's my son-in-law now, they ended up getting married, says, "I'm going to take you in the car." And the reason why I say don't ever do that, because if you have someone that's having a heart attack, your best bet is to either find someone that's a paramedic close by, a neighbor or something like that, but don't drive them because they will die.
And why is that?
I can guarantee it. You cannot save someone having a heart attack while you're driving. You're just not going to be able to do it.
Because you're doing your thing. Your hands on the wheel. You're looking straight ahead, so you can't assist
Right.
them.
Your best thing is giving baby aspirin. And the most you can give them is 3. You can give them 325s is what I was told. They rather you give it the 81. So 381 would be better, chewable. Okay. They can chew it faster, gets in their system faster. So I always carry that with me. It's good to have in your house.
All right, get to the good stuff.
So
Tell us what you saw.
Hold on a minute. So finally, 911 finds us. They pinned their phone. Yeah, whatever they do, and they found us, and Good. I got out of my driveway. I was out of my driveway for like 10 seconds, and I died. I passed away in the ambulance. I passed away 3 times in the ambulance, 50 times in the hospital.
Was that the number again? The number 15?
53 times I passed.
53.
53.
Whoa.
So I made it from there to Scranton, from Milford to Scranton, which is a 55-minute ride in a blizzard. They couldn't life flight me. Survived, but when I first passed in the ambulance, what I saw was like the books your mother and father used to put your pictures in.
Yeah,
the photograph books and the family album. Yeah. So the pages were going like this. And I could see as far back as I can remember as a child, and I would see, with dogs, bikes, cars, girlfriends, all this. It was just going, and it would start going really fast. And the reason why it went really fast is because they were shocking me back. And when they shocked me back the first time, I'll never forget that. I woke up in the back of the ambulance, and I was flipping like a fish. I mean, I was like, and they held me down. 2 paramedics held me down and go, whoa, we just brought you back. And I'm like, and I look out the back of the ambulance. I see I'm still at the exit by my house, and I know I'm going to Scranton. I just died, and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to make it. That's what's going through your head. Well, I died 2 more times in the ambulance, and then I made it to the ER, and I saw the ER, and I'm saying, I got to get in here. And they got me in, and the doctor came up to me. He goes, I'm Dr. Greenspan. I said, whatever you do, don't let me die. He goes, you're not going to die in my watch. I promise you. And I died right in front of him. He started shocking me.
I didn't mean to laugh. It's just it's ironic. As soon as the promise you go, it's like,
so
wait,
they got me in the hallway after they pulled my clothes off and cathed me and everything else. They were bringing me up to the cath lab, and my daughters were out in the hallway, and the priest came over and gave me my last rites. And then after that, I was no longer here on earth. I had died there in the hallway, and it's really weird because when you get up in, I call it purgatory, because you're not all the way through. You're like in limbo, and it's all gray area. But I'll tell you what, it's the warmest feeling I ever felt. Everyone says describe it, and you can't describe it. You feel love, you feel warmth, you feel like this never happened. This earth never happened. Like earth doesn't even come to your head. Your kids don't come to your head. Your wife don't come to your head. Your dogs don't. Nothing. Nothing of your past is in your head. But you know who you are. Right. And it was weird because I looked at my watch, and I knew they cut the shirt off me because I was, one of the times that they shocked me back, they started cutting my shirt off. Yeah. And I remember the scissors coming at me. So I looked down, my shirt's back on me. And I look at my watch. My watch band was there. The circle of the watch was there, but there was no arms. There was nothing, just skin. So there's no sense of time up there.
Wow.
So the watch had no face to it. It was just skin. So when you walk, you ever skim a stone across the pond? It makes those walk, it ripples like that. And then when you stop, it just goes boom right to your feet like that. And you tap your foot, it ripples out. As soon as you touch whatever you're touching, like there's no surface really. I don't even know what the heck I was walking on, honestly, because it's gray. Everything's gray. No matter where you look, there's no trees, there's nothing. Just
but you weren't fearful or in pain, you're just examining things.
Matter around you, that's it.
But you weren't fearful and in pain, you're examining things, correct? You're reacting to things around you.
Right. So I started walking, and then I saw these. You ever see the movie The Abyss?
I'm trying to think. Is that the water?
Yeah, but the water. Yes. Well, the figures were watery like that, and they were running past me, and they were small, so I knew they were kids. And I said, "Stop! Let me, talk to me." And they said, It was like a female-male voice together saying, "We're not allowed to talk to you." And they giggled and they ran. So I'm like, all right, I'm not going to get anywhere with them. But now remember, you have no sense of direction. Right. I look up, you look down, you look it's all gray. So I just turned my back towards them where they ran, and I walked in a different direction. And that's where I came across all these angel wings. And they're just floating all over the place. And there was no bodies to them, it was just sets of wings. And I went to touch one of the wings, and it just went like away from you. Like, you're not allowed to touch anything up there.
I'm going to pull up a picture of what Steve described.
So, stand there looking at all these different size wings, small. So I figured some were kids or grown-ups, all that. They're, just all over the place. All of a sudden, they spread apart, and a thing comes at me like this and opens up. It's like a.
That's what the angels, like he saw. Oh, you can't see.
Can't see it.
Cool.
No,
I think some pairs of wings, it's the wings, yeah.
But anyway, this figure comes at me like this, and then it opens up like this, and there's a tall person standing in there, just a black shadow. You can see him. And it said to me, "I come to you because you believe in me. You're a part of me, my kingdom. Let them know I'm with each and every one of you. My love never dies. Now go." And that was put in my head. I can never get it out of my head. It's been locked in my head. And so I go where? I'm saying to myself. So I turn my back and I took one step. And I was in a cath lab looking up. And I see a pink mask and a blue mask. I could hear people talking, but they couldn't hear me. Right. And they're asking me questions, and I'm answering them, but they're not. Next thing I know, I'm back up there again in that gray matter. And I'm like, what am I doing back up here? And I hear a voice say, "I told you to go." And I'm like saying to myself, "Oh, I didn't ask to come back."
I'm trying to go. Yeah.
So next thing I know, I'm back. Now I'm back in my body, and I can hear them talking. And they can hear me now. And I hear them say, "Steve, you can hear us. Give us a sign, please." And I gave them 2 thumbs up.
Okay.
I raised my thumbs up like that, and they all were clapping. Well, the funny thing is, I ended up in ICU for I thought it was only a night, but Pam said it was 5 days. Wow. Then I woke up in my room, and I look on my nightstand, and there's a card. And I look at it, and it says, "Steve, I didn't want to wake you. I told you would not die on my watch, Dr. Greenspan."
That's very nice.
Isn't it? What ER doctor comes all the way up to your room and gives you a letter like that? Then I see people peeking in on me constantly. And all of a sudden, these 2 cardiologists come in the room. And he goes, "I'm Dr. Lowen." I forget who the other doctor was with him. He goes, "We raced to find the clog in your heart." He goes, "You're lucky." The reason why I said, "Why is everyone peeking in on me?" He goes, "Because we call you the miracle man. You had the Widowmaker times 3. Wow. No one that we know has ever survived that." He goes, "You're the only one on record that we know of that survived it. Usually Widowmaker takes you out. Right. Not 3 times. I had 2 blood clots sitting on a full right coronary artery, totally 100% clogged. So I shouldn't have survived at all." He goes, "Here's the weird thing is, we broke through, your heart took off like a freight train. You only have 2% heart damage."
Wow, that's great. I mean,
my brother, who's 11 months older than me, my brother, who's 11 months older than me, he ended up with 40% or 46% heart damage from his first heart attack. Oof. So 2% is very minimal, for that. It did cause other problems down the road with AFib. Right. I had to go for ablations on AFib and stuff like that. But it was funny because the doctor comes in and he goes, So we broke through your heart. Your heart took off like a racehorse. He goes, but I got to ask you something. I go, what? He goes, what did you see? I'm like, how you know I saw something? He goes, the whole time I was in your heart, you were talking to me. So I said, Doc, what did I say to you? He goes, well, I'm going to see you in a month. When you come in, we'll talk about it. I said, all right, great. He started to walk away. I said, wait a minute, Doc, I have another question. I go, what? He goes, I said, there was a female cardiologist working on me. Stops. He goes, you're freaking me out. How you know that? I said, I saw her. Yeah. He goes, it's impossible. I said, she was to the left and you were to the right. She had a pink mask on. You had a blue mask on. He goes, you're correct. He goes, but how? He goes, you're freaking me out now. I said, why? He goes, there's no way you saw that. I said, no, I saw it. He goes, you couldn't have because we tape your eyes shut. So if you wake up during the operation, you don't freak out.
Right. There's no stimulus that way.
Yeah. I said, maybe the tape came off or something. He goes, no, your tape, we had to peel that off you. Wow. So, yeah, he goes, now you're free. So I go back a month later and I go to talk to him. And dummy me, I walk in and I say, hey, Doc, can you tell me what I said? Because I want to write a book. I don't want to be in no book. He didn't want to tell me nothing.
Oh.
So I don't know to this day what I said to him.
What you said. Maybe you can buy him, a gift or something like that, or.
But the weird thing was when I woke up in the ICU, I don't know how Paranormal After Party got inside my ICU room. The whole team was in there, and they were
resourceful.
Does that surprise you?
Not at all. I'm not surprised.
I don't know how they allowed everyone in, and they were filming me, and they will not let me see that film because they don't want me to go back and relive. Because I was all tubed up.
You're right.
Yeah, I had 3 tubes down my throat, and they didn't want me to remember that. So
between the fact that you probably shouldn't be here, knock on wood, you are, thank God, and the message you received from that very tall figure, you come out of this with like a passion to do, right? To not waste your time, to make this count, right?
Well, that's the first time. 2020, it almost happened again. 2020 was Christmas Eve. My heart was beating at a rhythm. And I told Pam, I said, I can actually feel my heart stopping. Now, what the cardiologist did, they took me off the blood thinner. And the stent that they put in was an emergency stent. So it wasn't a medicated stent. So it was a wire stent, which if you don't have a blood thinner in you, the cholesterol can collect on it. So I had the Widowmaker again on Christmas Eve, which they went in on New Year's, January 3rd of 2021, right? Or no, 2020.
I don't know.
2020 they went in and they broke through that stent that was clogged and put another stent in, which if I didn't go in, I wouldn't have been there the next day. So I've seen twice. So I'm here for a reason.
You said the first one happened on March 31st, 2015?
Yeah, 2015, yeah. That
is my 50th birthday.
Oh, wow.
And my wife's birthday is Christmas Eve. So I was like, woo, that's pretty amazing. I'm thankful, knock on wood, that my dates were a little more easygoing, relaxing than yours were. But now that you can share these amazing things, I think it's fascinating because people talk about and they speculate about what happens if your body stops. What do people see? What is it like? What do you feel? And you have an uncanny recollection of these things that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can tell you what it feels like.
About.
Did you ever sit up really fast and feel like you're going to pass out?
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what it feels out, but you pass out. Put it that way. When your heart stops, you get this rush that comes up the back of your back, like from your chest area, your collarbone area, right up the top of your head, and you know you're going to pass out. There's no stopping it. I was laying down. There's no stopping it.
Wow.
Once your heart stops, that's what happens.
Got it. And so now we help. Now we share. And put a poster up on here on the screen for a second. And this is going to be in a few weeks, right? August 19th to 21?
Yeah.
Yep.
Let me make a bigger screen. Ready? There we go. That's okay. So August 1921, Wyndham Gettysburg, Presidential Circle, bands, food trucks, vendors, lectures, car show, noon to 6. Is that right on Friday?
Yes.
Noon to 6 on Saturday, then noon to 4 on Sunday.
Now, Friday and Saturday, after 6 p.m., some of the bands will be playing already, but they're going to continue to play till 10 o'clock. So we're telling everyone to bring a lawn chair because some of these bands that are coming are phenomenal. We got 10 Ton Stone coming. We got Push Come. We got Love and Vain. We're going to forget the other ones offhand.
Earth Tamale.
Earth Tamale, yeah, and they're the main ones. One of the main ones. I almost forgot
Just
them.
gonna kill you.
They killed me.
Let me put a photograph up here on some of the guests that weekend. Here we go. Nope, that's not them. That's 74 team. I do see people I know. I see. Let's see. I see Reggie Jackson, Brooks Robinson, Bobby Mercer. I see a few. That's probably the wrong image. Let's try this way. Here we go. Back this one again. So a lot of folks will be there that people might recognize from either the internet or television shows or their groups. What are some people that might be there people should know about?
Two of the wrestlers will be there, Gene Sinski and the Samoan. They come. They're coming every year now. Dave Schrader's coming this year.
Yeah.
Dave will be there.
You're coming.
You're coming.
True.
Scott Porter and Stephanie are coming.
Yeah.
Who else? Mike King. He'll be there.
Yeah.
Dave. What's his name?
Melly,
God,
from Gypsy Sisters.
Yes.
She'll be there.
Yes, that's a cool thing. And of course, BB3 TV will have a booth there, right? A table
Yes,
there.
they are. Uh-huh.
You know,
there's gonna be a lot. This is the name. They're all in there.
the reason that I do this video cast on this network, 'cause I don't do this kind of thing usually. I usually sit home and think about life. But I want to get involved because the owner operators of this station, I noticed they would go on weekends on their own dime and clean headstones.
Oh, I love
Military
that.
headstones of soldiers and things like that, and just honor people who gave their lives for others. And I thought, you know what? That's the kind of person, the kind of people I want to work with and be a part of. So they said to me, would you do a show once a month? Would you come here once in a while and just do something? I said, heck, I'll do it weekly, because I like to associate myself with people like that, who are altruistic, who give of themselves to others, because that's just talking the talk, it's walking the walk. And that's one of the reasons why I like going to the bash, because I know when I go there, I'm doing something that is, in capital G, good.
Yes.
Well, Chris, I brought that up several times, and I appreciate everyone that comes to it, because so I know some of these celebrities usually have paid appearances, and some of these guys come there and they're giving their time back to the soldiers, and I appreciate that, because you look at it this way: when a soldier goes out and he's sent over to a different country and fighting for our freedom, he's allowing us to do our TV shows. He's allowing us to do this, and he's putting his life on the line. So to give a day or two to pay them back for that, I think it's very nice for someone to do that. And I really respect some of the stars that come there and give their time for that.
And it's interesting that sometimes people get a bad rap of saying, well, they think they're too big to do these things. But yet, time after time, people will email you, they'll write you, they'll call you and say, can I be part of the bash? They'll reach out and say, can I please join? You don't have to twist any arms in this one. People ask you, is there room for me this year? That's how it goes.
Mm-hmm. We sold thing. The Wyndham sold out. The Marriott just gave us 10 rooms. So if anybody didn't get a room, the link is up on the Facebook page.
If those 10 go, they said they'll try adding more if they have them available.
Yeah.
And
then some people went to the Day Zone.
Yeah.
I always stay like 20 miles away. I'm a quiet person, so I know if I'm at the big party, then there'll be some vodka and orange juice, and then I'm streaking it again. That's not a good look. So I usually stay far away, but I'm really looking forward to. I really am the 80s party, because I am working my mullet here, so I'm really trying to.
These events take.
I like your mullet. It's a good thing.
The bash takes a year to do, to get, even though it gets somewhat easier, we keep adding to it, which makes it a little more difficult. Like this year, we added a car show. Yes. Right? We brought the bands back because people wanted the bands back, so we brought the bands back. So that's a lot of outdoor entertainment. And
don't forget the dunk tank.
And the dunk tank is fun.
Who goes
in
there?
The dunk tank, Chris?
Bring a bathing suit, Chris.
Who goes in the dunk tank? Who goes in the dunk tank? Anybody?
Kenny Biddle goes in the dunk tank every year.
He will get dunked. Poor Kenny.
Yes.
I don't believe you got dunked. I've tried again, just make sure, because I'm skeptical about that. Boom. That might have been one more time. Make sure. Okay, it's an F sample group. You got dunked.
You should have seen it when we made an announcement. Kenny Biddle is getting in the dunk tank. I'm going to tell you, like at least 10% of the people jumped up and ran outside.
Yes, the line is priceless.
We love Kenny.
Well, he's a good heckler,
Yeah,
he gets out there. He says, "There's no such thing as ghosts. Your team sucks," and then they start really wailing the balls at him.
Barry. I don't have my glasses on. Buddy
Will
the
Buddy the
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot be at the bash again?
I believe Buddy the
Yeah.
Bigfoot will be there.
Yeah, he should be there. Yeah.
I know Ted's going to be there.
Ted Van Son, yes. I just saw him with Ernie Atwell and Dave Seiler. We gave it a little.
Who's
offer.
Ernie Atwell? Just kidding.
Oh my gosh, he was last week's guest. Oh my
Every
goodness.
time I see Ernie out,
Go check it out.
We
Episode
love
26.
Ernie.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He really is. He's dedicated to his craft. He's a straight shooter,
Uh-huh.
you know. And one of the things I like about him, even though he has a job that deals with authority and going to court sometimes and being an eyewitness, he always wants to learn things. He doesn't close his mind to, possibilities. And if you have a doctor, a lawyer, a police officer, teacher, anything like that, you want somebody to have an open mind in dealing with you as a human being, because you might have a different situation than the person that came before you. And I like that it's not a cookie cutter approach where it's always the same thing for him. And I really appreciate that,
Yeah.
And I love the bash too. There's someone I see sometimes. I don't know if he's a guest, if he's a stranger, if he just snuck in the back door, but Eric Julian.
Eric Julian is
he
our
sneaks in every year. I don't know how he does it, but
he's our volunteer coordinator.
The Air Ducks? I don't know. Yeah, isn't he amazing?
He does our volunteer. He keeps control of and gives people their jobs to do that are volunteering, and he does an amazing job. He got a shirt with all these signatures on it this year.
Eric was with us since Paranormal After Party.
Yeah.
He used to film with us, so Eric's been by my side for years. He's very loyal. I love him to death. He does everything.
We just got Tom said he's going to get in the dunk tank.
So Tom
Good.
or Dom, one of the two.
We need volunteers for the dunk tank.
Yeah, let Dom
And if you
know.
think about it, if it's like 80, 90 degrees out, who wouldn't want to go to the dunk
Might be
tank?
comfortable, right?
Yeah, it's nice. Well, the water gets warm, but we can always cool it off by adding ice.
What's going on over there? What's that face you're making?
The water gets warm.
Oh, wait, that's the bad sign, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
No, you gotta do. You go in there, you get dunked a couple times, you walk out, and the next person goes to go in and say, "Hey, I just weed in there. I don't know if you want to go in there."
Yeah, no good. Talking about other things that you do, because you're more than just a bash. The historic 1912 Hoover House. Can you talk about that as well for the listeners and the viewers?
We're in it right now.
Sure. So there's actually 4 of us who own the historic 1912 Hoover House. Jim, Yvonne, Steve, and I were all business partners. And we knew that we wanted to do a bed and breakfast, and we knew that we wanted something active. So the realtor was very kind and put up with us. One of the houses that we went to look at, I walked in and I was like, ooh, this was a funeral parlor. I can't live in there.
No,
but then I was like, but I got to get through it. So we went through it, and then we came here. And looking at the outside of the Hoover House, I was like, Steve, this is just too good to be true. It's probably going to be like demolished inside or something.
Right.
Yeah, we figured there had to be something wrong. But.
No, it was turnkey, and we had our voice recorders, and we were all the way on the tip top on the 3rd floor. And so I worked in long-term care for a number of years at local nursing homes. I was also a volunteer ombudsman. So I was with our greatest generation for a lot of my career. So I'm kind of naggy when it's an older person, because I love them. I just love them, and I don't want them to get hurt. And so I was like, do you take the steps? Do you take the elevator? Please be careful with your walker. Because, we were an assisted living. That's why I was doing my questions like that.
Right.
And when we played it back, we had a man on there, and he was like, oh, effing steps.
Didn't want to take the steps.
And we've got 4 big flights of steps to get up to the top. And we have that man on different audio quite often.
Yeah, I went downstairs. I was down in the basement, and I ran all the way from the basement all the way up to the top floor because Pam said she saw someone in the primrose room.
Right.
So I said, wait, I'll grab the recorder as I'm coming upstairs. So I grabbed it. I get up there. I sit in a chair in the room, and I start asking questions. And I do play back. I got nothing. But I said, boy, as I'm recording again, I said, try it again. So I hit the record button, and I said, listen to that recording. I can hear my breath. I must have been out of breath
Yeah.
coming all the way up the stairs. And when I played it back, I said, you hear me say, I can hear my breath on the recorder. And the guy goes,
Don't say the word.
that's effed up.
So he responded.
Same voice.
Same voice. Yeah. So this guy likes using the F word.
Now the
He's a
basement,
regular, huh?
the basement of the Hoover house was a speakeasy.
Okay.
And if you type in and look up the coal mine in Waynesboro, you'll get a little bit. The Historic Society has some info, but remember, it was a speakeasy, so it was
Right.
illegal.
It's off record, right?
But our realtor actually had a drink here in the basement.
Yeah.
She was young.
Actually, we just joined the board of the Historical Society over here. So we're going to be searching through the archives. They do have a picture of the bar that was underneath here. So I'm dying to find that picture.
Very
No,
cool.
I'm actually going to look for the picture. I want to die.
Don't die for
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I was hoping that's what yeah, that
So-
would not be the.
Waynesboro is the retreat end of the battle. So when the Confederate Army was retreating, some went across Saxbridge into that direction, then some headed towards Cashtown because some of them came in through Cashtown, so they were familiar with the roads. Cashtown's at the bottom of the mountain, we're at the top.
Okay.
So they came up into Waynesboro, helped Waynesboro for 15 days. And General Lee was actually in our square watering his horse. So we have a lot of really forgotten history here in Waynesboro that we are just digging up and putting back into the forefront.
So the Hoover House, then essentially, it's a bed and breakfast that is active.
Absolutely.
Very, very cool. And now that's different than the Gettysburg Ghost Exchange.
Right. So our store was when we first opened Gettysburg Ghost Exchange, we
Yes.
were in Gettysburg.
Okay.
But being that Gettysburg and Waynesboro, we're living here, we have our bed and breakfast here. So Steve was like, well, let's just bring GGE here. And I'm like, well, Steve, that doesn't really make sense. We can't call it Gettysburg Ghost Exchange. So we just renamed our store. We are now called Historic Haunts of Waynesboro.
Okay.
We're going to be doing history walks, ghost walks through town.
The investigations.
We're going to continue our investigations of Jenny Wade, Haunted Orphanage, of course, here at the Hoover House. And I can't say where else, but I have another amazing location.
We just met with.
We just had a meeting.
Just whisper to me. Just whisper to me. No one will hear you.
Amazing. And it's in Gettysburg. It's in Gettysburg. And people are going to be banging the doors down to get into this location.
Sounds pretty-
Amazing. That's a hint.
And you have
Banging
yeah.
the doors
bus
down.
tours.
It's a kind of good hint. I need some more. Again, just between you, myself, and Steve, because just us in the room right now. I don't want to press you on that. That's fine. Now, one of the things that we mentioned, you talked about before, Pam, the show was about Lilydale Assembly, Lilydale. Now, that is a place that is well known in they used to say back in the old days, hippies or new age or esoteric, or it's been labeled on 95,000 things over the years, but really it's just an alternative spiritual place to go, to explore, to share energies and spirit and things like that. I have never been there.
Oh, you gotta go.
Have you been there? What's it like?
Oh, yeah.
This is my second time teaching in the Dale. Actually, I got my Reiki master here in Gettysburg.
Okay.
And then I started to get this pamphlet and I was like, oh, Lilydale, what is this? And why am I getting this? And so I signed up 12 years ago or something, 10 years ago. They had a healing mastery course. So it was only for Reiki masters. You get a healing mastery, like spiritual healing mastery over that. Okay. And I was there for a week. It was one of the best experiences of my life. Lilydale is life-changing. And we were just blessed and honored to go back again. And our class is called When Technology Meets Spirit.
Now, I never have been gone there. I don't know if it's like a outdoor camp or like the Rivendell where the elves live in Lord of the Rings, or like, I mean,
we'll be there this weekend. Like? This weekend.
Well, when you go in, it's a gated community.
Okay.
It's $15 a person, and then that money goes towards their fire department and kind of like road work or whatever Lilydale needs.
Okay.
And there's Inspiration Stump that you can go get free readings at 3 different times a day. And then the temple, you can go in to get healings, which when I'm up there, I always volunteer in the temple.
Right.
And then there's all different kind of free things to do. And then there's paid classes. They've got 2 restaurants. They've got maybe 6 or 7 bed and breakfasts right there. So, I mean, you can go, you can stay and just get everything that Lilydale has to offer and walk the streets at 3 a.m. That's the best thing.
That's cool. So it's like Seller's Resorts, but for psychics. It's kind of like a place you can go to seek refuge in a world that's oftentimes belligerent, hostile, and closed-minded.
Yep. There's a pet cemetery. There's a fairy garden. There's just so much to do.
A pet cemetery?
There is. There's a pet
There's
cemetery.
a horse buried there.
There's a horse. There's a donkey buried there.
Wow. I was thinking of Stephen King. I shouldn't do that right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? You made I think, a very interesting point that you can walk there at night. There are many communities you can't do that for many reasons, either safety issues or whatnot. You know, it's nice, but almost like being a child again, where you don't worry. As a child, you just play. You don't know what the world has in store for you. You play, you dance, you color, you sing, eat ice cream. Children have it easy in many cases. They don't know the bad stuff yet, you know. And in fact, the innocence of youth. And it's nice that Lilydale can actually recreate in you a sense of innocence, a sense of
It does.
childhood where you can just be yourself and not fear. And I think it's a beautiful gift that place can bestow upon you. I really have to get myself up there at some point in time.
You do. Our first class, we were in a smaller auditorium, and there was all these beautiful portraits all around of the founders of the Dale. And our paranormal equipment was saying their names, and then the mediums of Lilydale, and they're a hard bunch to crack. And they were only there because paranormal investigators and the mediums of Lilydale, I mean, they mold, but they're kind of standoffish, but they weren't that night. And our equipment was validating what they were saying, and they were validating our equipment. So it was an amazing combination. So that's why they asked us to come back.
It reminds me of back in ancient Greece when you had the women that were the sages, and they would, the prophets would give you your fortune, and you'd go there and do your gifts for Athena and Ares and Jupiter and things. You have to make sure the priestess are not upset by you. That's pretty fascinating. I like that thing. Yeah, and of course, people with your description, of course, think it's an amazing place and would probably want to go.
It is. It's life changing. It truly is. It truly, absolutely is. You have to walk the streets of the Dale and feel the vibration. Because Steve used to be like, "What are you talking about?" until he got there.
Got it.
And then he was like, I know, I can feel it.
I agree with you.
Parked in this grassy area by the temple. I think it's by the temple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, okay. I wasn't really opening up to it. And then I was walking by myself, and something said something to me. Just like, like, hello. And then I'm like, there's no one around me. Who just said that? So it made you think what's actually walking around there. But it's a pretty cool place. I mean, the psychics, like she said, every house is a psychic.
Yes, Karen, you're right. Gettysburg and the Dale,
there'll be quite a few psychics there, right? And people of note at the Gettysburg battlefield, bash, 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 bash. And one more time for the folks viewing at home, August 1921, Wyndham Gettysburg Presidential Circle. It's 1920-21 car show, turns, amazing things. I'm very proud to say I'll be there as well as other members of the DB3 TV network. It looks like it's about that time.
Thank you for having us.
But I would mind. That'd be an interesting thing to think about, right? So thank you very much for showing up. Thank you to my guests. I love you both. I'll be seeing you in a few weeks with my 80s hairstyle.
Yes.
Wait till you see me.
1980s party Friday.
All right. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Remember what I always say. If it's true and it helps, say it. Good night, folks.
Thank you, Chris.
Good night. Thank you.
This has been Turn to Gold on BB3 TV.